We're live, everybody. This is the formula for the surface area of a sphere. The surface area of a sphere is 4 times pi times radius squared. In other words, the area of one of this circle that would go right through the middle of the sphere times 4 is the surface area. Okay? Let's use that formula. The very first question throws a little bit of a trick at us. It gives us a diameter, not a radius. Big deal. We know how to deal with that, so the radius is 2. So my formula is surface area is 4 times pi times r squared. So plug in the 2 for the radius, and I get 4 times pi times 2, which is 16 times pi, which is, when I punch buttons, 50.27. Okay, we're in area, so remember that means it's units squared, and we started with inches, so we are in square inches. Okay? Example number 2. Now this is definitely an approximation. Oh yeah. This is definitely an approximation, but a soccer ball isn't really a sphere. A soccer ball is actually an Archimedean solid comprised of pentagons and hexagons. It's sort of a sphere, but it's not really. Let's assume it's close enough to a sphere that we can use this formula. So the surface area is 4 pi r squared, and they tell us that that's 250 square inches, and they tell us that we want to know the diameter of the soccer ball. Well, this formula involves radius. So I'm going to rearrange it so that I divide both sides of the equation by 4 pi, which cancels it on that side. And then I don't want to know what r squared is, so I square root both sides. And there. Try that. Pause the video. Try that on your calculator and see if you can get the right answer. Make sure you know how to use your calculator properly. But you get 4.46 inches. Now keep in mind it won a diameter, so my final answer is double that, and I get 8.92 inches. So that's the diameter of a soccer ball according to this question. Here's an interesting idea. What's the surface area of a hemisphere? So if I took a sphere and I cut it in half, well, I lose half of the curve. I lose half of the dome, let's say, but I gain a face. I gain a circle. So my total surface area here is, well, I used to have 4 pi r squared, and I lost half of that. What's a half of 4? So 2 pi r squared is the dome part. And then the base that it's sitting on is a circle. We know that's pi r squared. That's the circle part. So the dome plus the circle, 2 of these plus 1 of these is 3 of these. That's a neat little formula. So that's the surface area of a hemisphere, assuming that we want to calculate the base as part of it. What if we didn't want to calculate the base? Then this would have been it. I wouldn't have needed that part. Cool. Let's move on to volume. We just saw a neat little video that talked about surface area. I have a link on my blog for a couple of videos that talk about how you get this formula. The volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. Okay. So let's use that formula in a real world problem. We'll talk about the moon. The moon is approximately a sphere. They say approximately because there's, craters and stuff on the surface, so it's not perfectly smooth, but it's close enough. Probably closer than the soccer ball is. So the moon approximates a sphere with a diameter of 2,160 miles. So my formula is 4/3 pi r cubed, and diameter, there's that trick again, they want to mess with you. Diameter means I have to find radius. Half of 2160 is 1,080. So my formula is going to be 4/3 times pi times 1,080 cubed. And what I like about this question, I really don't know the accuracy of these actual measurements. You could go look it up on an astronomy chart somewhere, I guess. But what I like about this is if you punch buttons right, this should just fit on your calculator. Like exactly. I think most calculators, most scientific calculators give you 10 digits. You need them all. Because this answer is, let's see, where do I have it written down here someplace to make sure I don't copy it wrong. This is 5,276,669,286 cubic miles. Isn't that cool? So look at that. The volume of the moon barely fits on your calculator in miles. So that, somebody asked this morning, so does that mean the Earth is bigger than my calculator? I think it is. I think the moon is about 1/8 of the Earth. So if you times that number by 8, your calculator should jump to scientific notation. You can try it if you like. You remember what scientific notation means, right? Try it if you like. Let's move on to the volume of a hemisphere. Okay, so this is exactly half the sphere. So my volume would be half of 4/3 pi r cubed. What does of usually mean you're doing in math? It means you're multiplying. So that's a half times 4/3 pi r cubed. I see a nice cancel there. 2 goes into 4 twice. So that's actually 2/3 pi r cubed. And, okay, let's do a question with both surface area and volume for a hemisphere. So determine the surface area of this hemisphere. Round it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so the surface area first. So go back to the previous page, and my surface area is 3 pi r squared. So that's 3 times pi times 5 squared. I punched buttons on that earlier, and I got 235.62. Make sure you use the units right. And for the volume, the one we just did, it's 2/3 pi r cubed, which is 2/3 times pi times 5 cubed. When I punch buttons on that, and again I use my fraction button when I punch these in, I got 261.8 rounds to a 0 centimeter cubed. And that's all there is to spheres. So good luck on the homework for the spheres. I'll leave it up for you.